Now let's resume our focus on Africa's often troubled aviation sector. In East Africa, the biggest aviation hub lies in Kenya. So when Tanzania was picked as the base for a new budget carrier called FastJet, that decision left many questioning why it was taken. But as Ramanyang found out in an interview with the carrier's general manager, in contrast to her peers in East Africa, Tanzania has a much more open aviation sector and far more unexploited potential.
So Tanzania, its growth story is very obvious because Tanzania, there was a huge opportunity. It's a much bigger country.
It's huge.
Yeah, there's serious growth of GDP here. And there was very little competition, and there still is. The domestic market of Tanzania is still, I would say, quite at infancy.
It's not served properly.
It is not well served. I would say that because we previously had Air Tanzania Limited operating, and it's gone through its financial problems and shrunk to where it was. We also had, similarly, we had the other airlines like Precision Air in the market. And if you look at their fleet types, they serve the smaller airports. But FastJet came in with a product, the A319 product, which is a jet can only manage to land in a few number of airports, but because of the affordability, the low fares that we put in the market, we've stimulated quite huge traffic.
I remember reading one of the initial annual reports from the very early years of FastJet, and at the time margins are fairly thin, the company was bleeding money, and the auditors even expressed a concern as to whether or not the company would still be a going concern. But since then, traffic has gone up, revenues have gone up, you've expanded beyond Tanzania, you're in Zambia and Zimbabwe. What's the future for FastJet? Where next? What market are you going to be jumping into?
Still a small airline, because today we have 4 aircraft. We just delivered the 4th aircraft, which started operating in September. Previously, since inception, we've been operating with 3 aircraft, all through, without much growth in capacity. But despite that capacity maintenance at 3 aircraft, we've actually managed to grow the traffic quite substantially.
Which means your load factor is fairly high.
The load factor is pretty good now. We're achieving about 74% on average.
Those are numbers Egypt Air, Kenya Airways would be jealous of.
I will not speak for them. But for us, really, it's really the target market that we are looking at. And we want to stimulate the business. We want people to fly more, to get off the roads, to save time.
How do you keep a tight control on costs, especially for a startup? Probably the wrong word to use here, but for an airline that's in its infancy, how do you keep a very tight control on costs, especially as you grow?
We are a low-cost carrier, but we're operating in a very high-cost market. If you view, say, the airport costs, they are the same that are charged to us. They are charged to
bigger clients,
to conventional airlines.
Yeah.
Okay, if you check fuel, the fuel price is the same. So what we do is look at ourselves internally, and we apply the low-cost aspects of trying to have cost efficiencies. Now, number one, we don't have an engineering department. We outsource engineering services. On ground handling, we also outsource those services. So we don't recruit people and get equipment, because that's again another additional cost. So all those are outsourced. And we look at global contracts on those major items, like engineering and ground handling. So we can get somebody who's able to handle us in also other airports and also other markets that we're looking at.